Hi, folks. I would like to introduce myself. My name is Ayo, and I am a traveler who also loves to meet people. I think a blend of both is this concept of melting pot has come about. In my Melting Pot series, I will be talking to lots of inspiring people from different parts of the world and also from different cultures, whom I meet during all my travels. The common factor between these folks will be the desire to follow their passion and make it a way of life. So step into this melting pot and enjoy the chats.
Welcome to yet another episode of Melting Pot. This time in conversation with the lovely Preeta Mathur. As you know, my conversations are with people who have a passion and then they make it a way of life and they completely believe in what they are doing. Preeta is one such person. She is a theatre personality. She's also, she's acted on TV and films. But she had a fabulous corporate job, and she sort of, gave it all up. In fact, she didn't initially give it all up. She led two parallel lives, and there's some really. Preeta's had this absolutely incredible journey, which I will not go into, further details, and I'd rather Preeta talk about it. So, hi Preeta, welcome to my series Melting Pot. I'm really, really happy that you were able to join in, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Hi, Payal. Lovely to be here. I've been listening to your earlier recordings of the ones you've posted, and they sound really interesting. And I think we're getting to know a lot about a lot of people whom you would have never met.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, that's the whole point of Melting Pot. It's to talk to people who, there's so many people who have this absolutely amazing journey, but it's not out there. And, they're just happy to sort of, they just
do what they're doing, yeah,
exactly.
with their passion, yes.
Yeah, and live by it. And so, the whole idea is for their stories to be heard. And so that's where you step in, Preeta. Tell my listeners and me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, basically I'm living in Bombay now.
Okay.
And I've had a education in various different parts of the country, because
Mm-hmm.
my dad was always in a job which was transferable. At one point it got like really difficult, and so we had to go, me and my sister, we had to go into a hostel. And so almost 13 years of my life, while getting educated, I was in the hostel, and then afterwards university, and then living all alone. So I've lived quite a bit of my life really away from the family, not a
Right.
regular family coming home, mom is there to take care of your food, should, how are you, what is this, you've got to have to fend for yourself.
Correct. Yeah.
But in the process you make fantastic friends, you learn to look out for yourself, and you actually really look into what is it that you really want, you as a person, because then, because you're a little away from the family, you as an individual, you're looking at yourself more as an individual. What is it that you really want out of life, not what mom says and what dad says, because mom and dad are really away, and
Yeah.
you've got to rely on yourself. So I think many of us who live in hostels get to have a more independent kind of life, a more adventurous, I would say, more adventurous kind of life,
Yeah.
because we
Yeah.
at an early age have to look out for ourselves
Yeah. Correct.
and do things that we really want to do, not things
Yeah.
which we're told that we should do.
Yeah.
Because in India you have this kind of a thing now, that the parents guide the children, that what they should study, what they should aspire towards, and what they should finally become, what kind of a profession that they should finally go into. So happened with me also that my dad was always wanting that I should become a doctor, and I was good in studies. So he said, no, you have to become a doctor, because that he thought was, one of the best things in life to do, to become a doctor, the kind of respect you have, the kind of job you do. And also, then there is a doctor in the family to take care of the entire family's needs, medical needs. And medical needs, he thought, were the most, important needs that any family could have. So that
Right.
was his thinking.
Yeah.
My mother was always skeptical. She said, yeah, you have to study a lot, because she had two sisters who were doctors, and she'd seen them really studying hard.
Right.
But what had happened to me, that when I was in, I think, class 5, I stepped onto the stage. And that was also by accident, because
Okay.
we were living in this colony, where my father was working in the cement factory, and we had a nice colony, and people knew each other so well, and everybody knew what was happening with another person. And, a whole lot of brotherhood and everything, families, children, everybody together. So then there was this play that had to be put up. And, India was going through this family planning thing at that point of time. Population explosion. The government thought it was very necessary that, hum do, hamare do types, two of us and two children only. That was the kind of norm, and it was being really strongly propagated.
Right.
So everybody was being encouraged, all kinds of, propaganda through government means. And at that time there was no TV, so on the radio, and people were encouraged to do small little plays. And also the ladies club in the colony thought that, now they should also put up something like that. There was this function which was happening. Functions used to keep happening. The ladies used to keep getting together, doing something or the other. Handicrafts, this, that. Generally how it is in a colony life. The
Right.
ladies also do some cooking, they bake and they sell and stuff like that. So there was this little function. And so there was this lady who organized this little play on family planning, and just showing that one lady who has one daughter. I'm so glad that she picked up, that one child that she was supposed to have to be a daughter, because, in India, everybody wants sons. So
Yeah.
also she was trying to, probably kill two birds with one stone, that, emphasize on a girl child,
Hmm.
and show that how happy she is with one child. So this one child was very nicely dressed and everything, and this other family which had 4 children, 5 children or something, they were crying, and they were not well fed, and their clothes were dirty, and the mother was hassled, and this mother was like really prim and proper, and looking so happy and neat and clean. And how these two families meet. That was what the play was
That was
about.
faces. So,
So I was this little daughter, the one daughter, alone,
right.
lone daughter,
Right.
who looks happy, and she steps onto stage, and she enters this other house, and she looks at all these people. And of course there was some conversation. I just don't remember all of that now. But I
Yeah.
remember, being on stage and looking out at the audience and feeling so good. And here I was living another life, a
Yeah.
different life. So
Yeah.
that is what probably appealed to me, that, in this one lifetime, you can live out dreams, or you can live out other lifetimes,
Right.
be
Right.
other
Right.
characters.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, somebody, but of course, this happened with, the consent of my parents, but they didn't know what was, they
What was
were letting
brewing?
themselves in for.
What was brewing in your mind?
Yeah,
Right.
because this grew and grew. And so when I landed up and when regular school, primary, from primary to secondary school, and any play that was happening, I would volunteer and vouch for it, and I would be taken in, and then I would be, and they found me, very receptive, and I'd go out of the way for rehearsal, this, that, everything. So it just started happening through school and college. And when I started studying in Ajmer, that is in Rajasthan, boarding school, finally, when I had to go to boarding school, when
Right.
my father's, his movement here and there just did not allow us to have a proper regular school in the vicinity, in the neighborhood. So I had to go to a boarding school. And that is when it really flowered. Then I really realized, because there was all these curricular activities were really given a lot of importance.
Mm. Right.
So then it was, great time I had, because then I realized, what, I could say my calling. But luckily, I was good in studies. So, the studies didn't suffer, because then my parents would have thought of, what is this, boarding school, she's not studying and all that.
Yeah.
But they wholeheartedly encouraged all this extracurricular activity. It builds up the personality and all of
Right. And they had no idea the direction this personality was,
that. I know.
was headed towards.
I know.
Okay.
You're listening to a fusion of stories recounted for the first time ever by some fascinating people from across the globe with me, Payal, on this very unique and special podcast series, Melting Pot.
So then, moving forward, so you did your, I understand you have an MBA in finance.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So that also, of course, because my father said go for medical and all that. So I took biology, and I had science in school. But I soon realized not my cup of tea. And
Right.
luckily for me, my younger sister decided she would be a doctor. She will be a doctor. And I felt whole,
She's
you know,
savage. Yeah.
I know,
Wait,
burden shifting
you
from my
escaped.
shoulders.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can never stop being thankful to her for that. And I blissfully went into arts and literature in college. And then, of course, but before I went to college, there was this National School of Drama, which, you could, after school, you could just apply and get into the National School of Drama. And then you would be having, you would be studying drama, basically.
Right.
And you'd be graduating in drama.
Right.
But my father put his foot down. He said, "Nonsense. What do you think of yourself as some heroine in some film? You'll get a film, you'll become a heroine, you'll be taken as a heroine in some film." I said, "No, I doubt that, because I didn't think I was that, glamorous. You have to be all of that too, in the existing scenario in India and the kind of films that were being made at the time."
Right.
So I said, "No, I don't think so." So I could not give him a satisfactory answer that basically what would I do after I did my graduation in drama. So the whole thing got scuttled, and I had to get into arts. He said, "Okay, fine, go into economics, do your MBA, get a job. Once you have got a job, then you do what you like with
Hmm.
your money."
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, so studied my economics, got into my MBA, did my MBA, and then I said, now I have to get a job in Bombay, because that is the place to go to if you want to do films, theater, whatever,
Right.
the show business, so to
Right.
say.
Right. Yeah.
And so that also happened for me. I got this job in Bombay. So I was able to, but once in Bombay, then it's not that easy, because you've got a job, you've got a full time job. And how do you manage your theater or your other activity you're wanting to do, be on TV, or because by that time TV had also started.
Okay.
And but films, of course, was, see, the whole problem is that, there are, I think, in this country, a whole lot of talented people
Hmm.
who
Hmm.
just had to kill their talent as actors or actresses or whatever, because the kind of films that are being made and the way you get jobs in films was very, very difficult. It
Hmm.
was a total scene of compromise, the casting couch,
Right.
that was
Right.
very much there. So you could not, if you wanted to do it the proper way, based on your talent and your abilities, you could not do it. So you had to do whatever was possible. So the first thing I did, that I landed in Bombay. The first week that I worked in Bombay in the office had already made contacts of what theatre groups there are in the city.
Okay. Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. So we
Within
had this guy in
right.
PR in my office. This was a cement manufacturer.
Oh,
Actually, my dad's boss had come to visit us while I was doing my MBA. And
okay.
he spoke to me, and we had a nice, he stayed with us, he stayed at our place, and we had a nice conversation with him. And I mean, he was asking me about what I wanted to do. So then he suggested to my father that, she's doing her MBA, she's doing it in finance. I am also in the head of finance in the company, because he was going to become an MD soon, the managing director. And he
Right.
said, "Why don't you send her to ACC? She
Right.
knows how ACC works. She's seen it from the inside. And
Right. Right.
there is a place, we need people, good people in the corporate office. So my dad said, "Oh, Bombay and all of that." But luckily, I had an aunt in Bombay who, fortunately said, "Oh, she can stay with me in the beginning." So, things worked out that way.
Yeah.
Otherwise, big bad city, Bombay and all that. But Bombay was, of course, beautiful for me. So
Hmm.
I managed to get a job here itself in the same company in which my father worked. And but that was about it,
Right.
because the corporate office was a totally different story from what the units where the factory was and where
Yeah.
my father lived. It was
Yeah.
total different story.
Yeah.
And Bombay was a fantastic story
Hmm.
because it was a lovely city where, the kind of lives we lead, the kind of lives women lead in, smaller towns in India is, very restrictive. Even
Right.
if you are able to go out and walk independently, do things in, at least at that time it was, there
Right.
you're all the time so conscious of people, heckling you, or, all these roadside Romeos, what do you call these guys, always hassling you, you're always being watched. You just don't feel free enough, you
Right. Right.
and so it's always a, you just don't feel as if, you have the freedom to go where you want, do what you want. You always have to be conscious, what time you have to go, you have to go at a time, you have to go with somebody, you have to have somebody around who like, kind of protect you or whatever. But things are much better, much better now in this country. But
Hmm.
at that time, you were totally restricted.
Right, right.
You could not
So you
travel
really
independently.
felt that you were now in. I mean, they refer to Bombay as the city of dreams. So
Yeah.
and you kind of felt that this was your destination, and then you started to. So you were earning, you were living independently, and at the same time, in parallel, you were able to pursue your theatre, but it must have been hard for you to, because you, like so many others who arrive in Bombay and who are actually unknown,
Yeah.
and who have absolutely no background, but they have that dream, passion, of wanting to get into showbiz.
Yeah.
Must have been quite like a journey for you to actually get a theater group, to, or so it must have started with theater, I guess, before it moved
Yes.
on to TV
Yes.
and other things,
Yes.
right?
And it was very difficult. I mean,
Mm.
there were people, they had all their equations, and you could not get a chance to, actually get a role, or even in theater. There was this group called IPTA. There were other English theater groups, but to break into any theater group was very, very difficult.
So
Because
how did you manage to do that?
So in fact, the first 3 years that I worked with this theater group called IPTA, Indian People's Theatre Association,
Yeah.
I just barely did some tiny weeny roles. In those 3 years, I must have done about three roles in some three plays, because all most of the time you were at the edge, you were at the periphery, you were doing backstage, you were trying to help in costumes and this and that. And even when you did get a role, it was like one tiny four lines or two lines here and there. It was very, very difficult. And when you knew that okay, this is what you're capable of,
Right.
and this is what you should get, even then there was some kind of politics, because there were people in the group who were already established artists,
Right.
and established artists in their own right in films and TV. So whatever they suggested or whomever they wanted, those people would get the roles.
Right.
And everybody knew somebody, and everybody had some kind of a godfather, or some kind of a relative, or somebody. And here I was with no connection at all with anybody in the group. So it was totally, and I had come through, this guy in my office who used to do PR, who was in the public relations department. He
Right.
knew a lot of other people in the banks and all who were also involved in theater. Because at that point of time, and even now, really, a lot of people in banks used to do theater, because banks had their own theater groups even. They used to have even their theater competitions. One
Right.
bank like RBI had their play, which would be, in a competition with an SBI, State Bank of India play, like that, and another
Right.
Canara Bank would produce a play. So
Right.
actually, they used to keep people on their roles
Right.
who would work, but who would be given time to go rehearse. Like they
Right.
had a sports category also.
Correct. Correct.
Sunil
Yeah.
Gavaskar used to work in some bank, somebody. The cricketers had some jobs in banks and all. So they were there to play for the bank actually. So
Correct.
these artists used to perform for the bank. So
Right.
there were people
Right.
at that. This was at that point of time. So
Right.
I'm talking about the 1990s, during that time.
Right. So then, I guess patience and, just biding time is over those
Yeah.
3 years is what eventually led you to doing
Yeah,
other
because
stuff.
if you remember, I didn't have any formal training.
Right. That's
So
what you
I
said.
was
Yeah.
also, I was taking this opportunity to learn. I'm telling you right now, when I do workshops, theater workshops, I tell people that there's a huge way to learn through observation.
Hmm.
If you have got all your eyes, ears, everything open, and you are receptive, you can learn so much from observation. Do a lot of reading. We used to do a lot of reading and observe. And then we had this little 4 or 5 of us who were all kind of newcomers and who had no formal training, but we were associated with this theater group. After the rehearsal, whichever rehearsal, to watch the rehearsal,
Right.
then we'd sit and discuss with each other, okay, how did this one perform, and could that have been done better? Oh,
Yeah.
and that was so wonderful. And all these discussions we debate and discuss after, and keep sitting till 10:30, 11 o'clock. After that, we'd start to go back to our homes or wherever we lived.
Hmm.
And from these discussions, debates, and observations, so much I learned. I realized only later how much I had picked up from all of this, because actual being able to perform and actually being on stage was really very little happening over
Right.
those three, four
Right.
years that
Right.
in the
Right.
beginning.
Right. So you were basically honing in your skills.
Yes, yes,
Hmm.
yes. And of course, trying to read a lot. But till, theater is the kind of thing, till people give you a chance to make mistakes, you will not learn. You cannot
Right.
learn. You have to be given a chance to make mistakes.
Right.
People are fortunate if they get those chances.
So
And
so did you get a chance like
yes,
that? Okay.
the
Yeah.
chances were few and far in between.
Lucky.
And so of course I did make mistakes also, but and rehearse like I would get a role. Suddenly I got a call that this person is not available for this show which is happening a week later. So can you step in? I said, yeah, I have watched the play, but I need to also rehearse. And there would be nobody turning up for rehearsals because they have done the play. They have done it
Right.
many times. Now
Yeah.
there's one replacement of somebody happening in the play. They're not interested in giving that much of their time.
Hmm.
So, but like that's why always Rakesh Bedi, who's a popular theater film actor in Bombay today, I'm really thankful to him for that one role which I was supposed to do, which was quite a bigger role and quite an important role, and we were going to be performing at Prithvi, and for the first time I'd be doing such a big role in Prithvi. He made time for me. Actually, I had one very small scene with him. I had scenes with other people who never turned up for the rehearsal, but
Hmm.
he did.
Hmm.
He helped me, to rehearse, doing proxy for the other actors, other characters, and he helped me so much. I can never forget that.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and Prithvi is for those who are not aware of it, it's an experimental theater which is set up by Jennifer
Kapoor.
Kapoor, who I mean, she was a part of the Shakespeare Company, right? Back in
Yeah.
the yeah, and so she set it up, and it's one of the very very prestigious theater spaces that there is in Bombay.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's
Iconic space now, and
iconic space.
the
Yeah.
greatest of actors, like you just name the most popular film actor in Bombay. today he would also, give anything to be able to actually perform on the Prithvi stage. So
Wow,
it's
that's
that
amazing.
popular
Yeah.
and
Wow.
that iconic.
Yeah,
And
that's amazing.
Stay tuned for part 2. Until then, this is Payal signing off.